Good morning. This is Barbara Dooley. Welcome. Have you ever met people who seem to always be under a black cloud? Well, you never know what they're going to do. You never know if they're going to be in a good mood or a bad mood, and you sure can't predict if they will have a good or bad day. Well, this morning, my guest is Dr. Simon Casey, who is author of Couples in Chaos. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde syndrome. And we're going to be talking about this relationship that's in chaos. Good morning, Dr. Casey.
Good morning. How are you?
I was reading this to a coworker, and it was really hilarious. He said, "Do you know how many people we know like this?" I went, "Yeah, we do, right here in our office."
It is so true. It is so true. Yesterday, somebody asked me, and they said, in your opinion, how many relationships out there are functional and how many are dysfunctional? I really had to sit down and had to answer this question. And I said, I would say, by my estimation, about 80 to 85% of all the relationships are fairly dysfunctional and abusive.
Dr. Casey,
Yes.
What would you say is a functional relationship? I think we're all in dysfunctional relationships in some sort.
Actually, there is a distinct difference between a functional and a dysfunctional relationship. Functional relationships tend to be very based around intimate love, while dysfunctional relationships tend to be based around more of an intensity, not intimacy.
That's
so when you start, looking at things, you start really seeing truly why and how some people establish healthy relationships, because healthy relationships tend to be gradual. They go through stages, and dysfunctional addictive relationships is like something on demand, like blow my mind on demand. I want it yesterday. It tends to be very instant, and people in these kind of relationships look for instant gratifications.
Dr. Casey, if somebody is dating a person, can they predict what kind of a relationship they're going to have with this person before they marry them, or does marriage actually change a person?
This is excellent question. A lot of people come to me and say that very statement. After I got married, my partner has changed, or the marriage changes person. Actually, it's a misstatement, because what happens, marriage usually do not change people. I think people finally say, I don't need to wear this mask or the pretense anymore. So they drop the mask, and you get to see the person you didn't want to see in the first place.
But Dr. Casey, in today's society, I read statistics not long ago that men and women are waiting now. The median age is like 25 for a woman and 29 for a man to get married. You would think if they're dating 8 and 9 years, they can't wear a mask.
Well, age really does not define what kind of relationship you're going to have. It is a lot to do with emotional intelligence, how well you have grown emotionally and understood and work on yourself, that you have the ability to intimate and relate to other human beings. That's really what determines what kind of relationship you're going to have. You could be 50 and you may be babysitting somebody because you can't seem to be able to relate emotionally to somebody at your age.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What are the personality types that will keep an addictive relationship going?
Well, of course, you're going to be looking at dependent type persons and codependent type personalities. And when these people get together, oftentimes they form what we call codependent type relationships. So there is one maybe control and powerful or dominant personality type, and there is one maybe a martyr or victim-like personality that they will find and attract each other, and then they will form that dependent type relationship, and the relationship tends to be fairly addictive and abusive as a result. Not all, but some of them tends to be very abusive.
Wow. This morning I'm talking with Dr. Simon Casey, who is the author of Couples in Chaos, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde Syndrome. And there's so many of us that probably could be identified in this category. Dr. Casey, how would you figure out if you're in this kind of a situation?
How would I figure out?
Yeah.
How do I get out, you mean?
Well, no, if somebody is in a situation that they might not be very happy about, how
Yes.
would they realize that they might be in chaos, that they might be dependent or codependent?
You know, it is so interesting when people say, you know, I have been in my relationship for 5, 10, or 15, 20 years, and it doesn't make any difference how bad the relationship is. They will still not get out of it simply because there are two reasons for